Oh, good morning, everybody. It's Monday. Just got done doing my workout, as usual. Today's topic is going to be documentation stops conversation. Um, in any crime scene, the first thing that the detectives look for is forensic evidence. And as you're going through a divorce, you didn't stumble across a crime scene. You're creating a crime scene as you move forward. Everything that you say can and will be held against you in a court of law, or at least a court of opinions. You have to be really, really careful about what you say and what you do and how everything goes down. It's super important to remember that fact because emotions override intellect most of the time, and you're going to find that this is going to be a problem. It's the I over E versus the E over I, which is what you learn in psychology. So I think what I want to be able to pound home with you guys today is going to be a shorter than normal video, probably, maybe, I don't know, because I can ramble on, is how important it is about remembering to keep your tone, keep your mannerism, keep your pain in check. Because if you don't keep your pain in check, and I'm only talking about when you're interacting with people and the ex and your children and in-laws. Luckily and not luckily, all my in-laws cut me loose, so I didn't really have to be careful what I was saying with them. And I'm not a bad mouth talker anyhow. You know what I mean? I really don't go and talk a lot of crap about people. I'm going to tell the truth, but I tell the truth even if it makes me look bad too. And that's just the way I've always been. I believe in if you hide behind your lies, you're sick. And if you have your truths out there, then eventually somebody can't hurt you anymore with it anyhow because you've already exposed it. You've already put it all out there. Today I'm doing sourdough and almond butter. I decided to kind of skip the oatmeal just for a day, just to kind of see what happens after the workout. A little bit of carbs. So when you're dealing with the emotions, there's going to be a lot of times you're going to have Tourette syndrome of the mouth, where you're going to say hurtful things, or you're going to want to anyhow. There's a 5-second rule that I tell people about, and you got to be able to have that 5 seconds. Anything in a text message or email, anything, is memorialized for all time and eternity. Just know that. Conversations is he said, she said. And if they record you without your permission, it's inadmissible in court, but still they could make you look bad and everything else too. The goal is to always keep your side of the street super clean, no matter what it is. And it's hard because, as I've said before, there's a stranger walking around in all your fondest memories. And then also too, I did a Facebook post today, and it was talking about, that trust and love, whenever you bear your essence to somebody, when you're in a long-term marriage, or even a very short, super passionate and super open marriage. Not open like you swingers, but open like you tell them everything about you. There's always that fear of someone using that against you. And it will happen, guys. It 100% will happen. At the end, it will happen. All your darkest, hurtful things, they'll come up with stuff from 15 years ago, if that's how long your marriage was. And they'll try to use that against you, to manipulate you, to hurt you, to hold you down, everything else. And you're going to be really emotional, And anger is a secondary emotion. That's how I view it. I'm not a psychologist. I took a little bit of psychology whenever I was going to be a counselor. And I did counsel before. But anger is a secondary emotion, means it comes from something. It originates from fear, it originates from hurt, it originates from being scared, it originates from the ability to, like a fight and flight, like you have to go after something to protect yourself. So anger to me is a secondary emotion. And when you're angry, if you're hurt, you may not say nothing crazy, but when you're angry, you will say something crazy. And again, guys, this person is 6 months ahead of you. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what your heart tells you. I don't care what anything. When your heart's telling you, oh no, it can happen. We can work it out. We can work it out. That'll be a different video. I'm going to share with you signs that I believe that will let you know if you can work it out or not. But right now I'm talking about if you're on the path for divorce, and that's where it's going. And you or her have already filed. The moment of separation, everything has to be really calculated, and you have to be really careful. What I did in mine, luckily, is I kept my side of the street squeaky clean. I applied everything I tell you guys to my personal life, everything, 100%, all the time. And I don't, luckily I was already kind of in that state of mind because I don't like hurting people's feelings, and I don't like being a jerk to anybody. I can be, and I have been. Matter of fact, I really used to be a lot, and that's probably why I don't do it no more, because I've learned to be more of a pacifist in some things. And plus, I don't care. I really don't care anymore. I realized that whenever I used to think I was tough, I did everything because it was out of fear anyhow. Anger is a secondary emotion. I was afraid people were thinking I was weak or I would put up with that disrespect or something. So when you're angry, you're going to want to fly off the handle, especially with somebody that you bare your soul to. You open up that inner part of you. Maybe she knows about, you were molested when you were a kid. Maybe she knows about how much you had an estranged relationship with her mom. Maybe she knows that, your uncle used to be really, really mean to you. Or maybe she knows that your brothers used to pick on you a lot and hurt you. Maybe she knows, how long it was before you first had, a relationship with a woman, and these things, the weaknesses that you show them, and they're going to use that against you. They're going to say things to you to benefit them because they're already 6 months ahead of you guys. This is calculated. This is risk analysis of what they did a long time ago, and you're just showing up to the party. So documentation stops conversation. And what I say about that is that works both ways. You guys got to remember that anything you memorialize in a text, in an email, or a handwriting, a letter, a note. I've had exes that carve stuff on my car. I've had them, just do all kinds of crazy stuff. But anything that's memorialized is absolutely 100% evidence. Now, in family court, being an ass to somebody or a bitch to somebody isn't a legal thing. You can't really stop them, or they're not going to like oppose punishment per se. But it can sway the court's opinion on who's being more aggressive and amicable and who's the one that's hurting somebody or who's the one that's being friendly throughout this whole thing. So you got to take the high road 100%. You may not want to because, again, you just showed up to the party and your entire life is gone. It walked out the door. Your entire life is over with. It feels like during that time. So documentation stops conversation. Hold back on anything that you text. Even the crazier stuff like, I want you, I want you, I want you, I hate you, I hate you. Just don't even do that, man. Just try to be calculated. Try to be, just remember this is that you're in a war and there's a crime scene that's happening and you're the one that's laying down evidence. You're the one that's creating a case against you or for you. You gotta see it like that, because ultimately, it's not that 1970s, no more 80s where, pretty much where men used to get, raked across the coals in courts where they never got custody. They always had to pay alimony. They always just, things have slowly but surely changed. I've known guys for, 20 years that have had their kids because their wife lost custody. I know a lot of people, matter of fact, maybe even 30 years. I know guys that have got alimony because their wife was a primary source of income and they burnt them on the way out. So things have changed a little bit. But again, you don't want to be the aggressor. You don't want to be the mean one. You want to be amicable 100%. And it's going to be hard because your feelings are hurt. And if you don't even show hurt feelings, they're going to pick and prod and poke and try to get you to go crazy. And I'm going to give you guys a perfect example. And 99% of you guys are going to know what I'm talking about because you're going to like, oh yeah, this has happened to me a lot. So again, all these videos are for guys for the most part. Women, if you get something out of it or if you want to tell me I'm wrong about something, that's fine. We can have that discussion too. But so have you ever went to either your spouse, your ex, or a girlfriend in the past and brought up something? And let's say it was something legit, 100%. They go out clubbing and you don't like it. And it hurts your feelings, that they're going out clubbing and you're not there, but you don't like going clubbing or whatever the excuse is. You just don't like it because there's singles out there. It's a meat market. They're trying to pick up on them. This is just an example anyhow. And then you bring it up to their attention and then it turns into an argument and then they stab you with something. And I don't mean literally, I mean emotionally. They hit you with something that makes you overreact. And then you go, you bitch. And now it's no longer about that thing you even talked to them about. Because now it's like, how dare you? Oh my God, I can't believe you did it. That's happened to me almost in almost all relationships. And I know a lot of dudes have told me, it's just the same stuff that's happened to me. So it's cold and calculated, and that's a defense mechanism. And I get it. I do get it because not that they're weaker sex, but obviously we're physically stronger than them. So they have to develop their own techniques. But also too, where their heart can be cold, we're also brutally raw and vulnerable. So we have to be careful as men. So anything you put down in a text message or an email or in paper or writing or even messages you send to people you think that are cool, that are on your side, just remember that everything could be used against you. And you have to be careful because the crime scene is unfolding slowly but surely right in front of you. You know, there's going to be a moment when you may want to do this, bam, that's another piece of evidence. You may want to do that, bam, that's another piece of evidence. What you want is you want the courts to come in and look at from the time of separation all the way forward to the day that they're in court. And no matter what she says, you're going to say, well, where's the evidence? We don't see no evidence of that. We don't see anything. But then you, being the smart guy that I'm trying to make you, you say, Your Honor, on or about July 7th, Mrs. blah, 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 sent me this email. And then that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. So it's not supposed to be really a game because honestly, divorce is bad. It really is. It's horrible. It's the most destructive force in the world when love is lost and people hurt each other. And I wish, if I can make one thing happen in this planet before I die, like if I had a dying wish, it would be that all marriages work out. 100%. All marriages where, and I mean, I'm not saying where someone's abusive and the woman has to stay in it or she's cheating and the guy has to accept it. I'm talking about because people fall in love. You fall in love. And you know what I'm talking about. Nobody gets married because they hate the other person. They get married because they love that other person, or at least they believe that, you know, maybe she had a baby with them or something. And they're like, hey, we got to build a family. But no matter what, you believe in this. You want this. You make a commitment before the law and God and to each other, a binding contract of emotional and spiritual, that all those promises for sicker, for poorer, for health, and all that stuff means something. You know, it breaks my heart that marriages can't work out. It breaks my heart. If I had a dying wish, one dying wish, if God told me, hey, you got to lose 5 years of your life, but when you do, even 10 years, he said, you have to lose 10 years of your life, but I'll grant you any wish you wanted. That would be the wish. That would be the wish. You know, and I've thought about this too. Would I wish, you know, my family be filthy rich or this? No. It would be that the commitment and the bond and the love that people share when they first got married would last a lifetime. That would be my wish because it's so beautiful. You know, no matter what your angle on anything is, family is the most important thing there is in this planet. It really is. Doesn't mean blood is thicker than water. Family can be people you don't know, but they've been in your life for a long time. You know, heck, when you're getting married, that's not even your blood. You know what I mean? That's somebody you met. They become family. They become more family than blood sometimes. So that would be my dying wish. But here we are. We're in the real world and people separate, people divorce, people sometimes get remarried again. I've been married 3 times. The first one was an act of convenience. The other one was more of the thought of, there was love, but I thought that it was the right thing to do because somebody was talking to me about it. This one, I just had the feeling. I knew it. You know, I knew it in the core of my heart and everything that this is the one. And I knew it early. I mean, really early. We were on rocky ground second week after being with each other. And I still knew it. And I mean, rocky grounds, you know, whenever the divorce is all over, I'll talk about it because I want to share about relationships and stuff. But it was sketchy. It was so sketchy. And everybody around me was like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then I proposed to her after 3 months. You know, it's the craziest story ever. And everybody was like, oh my God, what are you thinking? Don't do it. So anyhow, back to the subject. Documentation stops conversation. The crime scene is unfolding in front of you guys. And so you have to make sure, and I'm not saying manipulate, because if you're an asshole, you should get in trouble for it. You should be called out on it. I'm not talking about going and damaging her stuff and then throwing it away so she can't see it. I'm not talking about being that. That's a jerk. You know, and you deserve to get caught up in that. You deserve to get called out in that. I'm talking about being a good dude, a good ex, a good father, and trying to work through the stuff, but not losing your cool. Because they're going to want you to lose your cool. And you guys already know what I'm talking about. I gave you an example of that. Can you lose your cool and then bam. But it's different here because here they don't go, oh my God, that's so horrible. I can't believe you did that to me. What happens now is the courts look at you and go, Mr. Bingham, is it true that you blah, 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 blah? Well, you can't do that. And you're going to have to pay her $10,000. Or we don't have kids, but, or Mr. Bingham, is it true you did blah, blah, blah? And I go, yeah. I go, okay, well, she gets 65% custody. You owe more in alimony. So ultimately, the court of opinion and the rules of separation, especially whenever you are filing for divorce, no matter if it's you filing or them filing, there's automatic restraining orders that have to be put put in place where everything's supposed to stay the same, no matter what. No matter if you're living together or they're living apart, whatever. All the things are supposed to stay the same. Make sure you don't change any of that either. Make sure if she's on your cell phone plan, you don't kick her off of that, even if you're mad, even if she kicks you off of stuff, even if she closes out joint accounts. Don't do nothing like that. Please, please don't. Don't do that. If they sell marital assets, don't you do it either. If they lock you out of, Amazon family plan so you can't get free shipping, don't do anything about it. No matter what they do, if they come and take something of yours, whenever they're moving their stuff, don't do nothing about it. Still document it, document. You will have your day in court. It's like whenever I see people getting crazy with officers and stuff. Well, he can't do that. That's why I stood up and just have your day in court, man. Don't get shot. You know what I mean? Don't do that. Just have your day in court. That's what court's for. The crime scene's unfolding. Whatever happens will be corrected in court. It will be corrected to the best of the court's ability. But what won't be able to happen is you to regain your, I don't want to say innocence, but your high road, your upper hand. You can't regain that. When you act a fool and you do something out of retaliation or you do something dumb that's documented, you will never be able to regain that again. That'll always, you could do 1,000 good things after that. But people in general, because we're men, and unfortunately, we normally still kind of get like some of my friends, oh, you're cheating, huh? And I go, no. When I told them that she left, one girl goes, oh my God, was you cheating? And I go, no, I'm a good dude. You know what I mean? So, and it's funny because it was just weird that this person would even say this to me. But, so you want to be able to keep your side of the street super clean. You want to be able to never act on an emotion, always act out on intellect. When you're emotional, whatever amount of time it takes or whatever you got to do, don't respond until you're able to get the I over E, not the E over I, guys, because that's the way you're going to be able to conduct yourself correctly. That's why the rules are put in the divorce paperwork. That's why it's put in there. You have to treat each other respectfully. The rules are in there. It's a court order. It's a court order. Because I'm sure before that, man, it was like people were beating the shit out of each other or something. I don't know. But they literally, the judges and everybody got together and the lawmakers, hey, we got to come up with something. People are just, they're acting fools whenever they go through a divorce. It's crazy. Okay, well, we're going to have to make it a law. How do we make that a law? So they got together and they put that shit inside of the court order. It's a court order that you have to do these things. You have to be amicable. You have to be fair. You have to be a fiduciary responsibility. You can't drain accounts. You can't financially try to hurt somebody. You have to be careful of everything. So it's a court order, guys. Act upon it like you're supposed to be and make sure you keep your side of the street clean. So documentation stops conversation. Again, 100%. Do not become the bad guy in this. You're already hurting enough. You don't need to stain your image. You don't need to have more things you have to worry about, because even if you are a jerk and even if you become the biggest raging asshole you think she deserves it, I promise you, if you're like me and if you have a conscience, doesn't matter if you have kids, but if you have a conscience, you're going to think about it down the road and go, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. And also too, it doesn't matter what she's become. The thing that I always try to remember is this. I try to remember that at one time, this was the person I would have gave my life for. At one time, this is a person I would have killed for. At one time, this is a person I wanted to live my entire life with. At one time, this is a person I would have did anything to make sure she didn't even suffer. So those rules still kind of apply. I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want her to hurt. I really don't. I don't. I've hurt a lot, and I've sat here and I've shaked and screamed and cried and moaned and all that stuff and screamed at God and cursed and everything. But you know what? I didn't do anything to hurt her. And I'm grateful for that, because I'm a softie when it comes to beating up on myself and feeling guilty and shame about things, and I don't want to live that. I've already had enough things that I've done in my past that I need to make sure that I don't ever do it again. So guys, documentation stops conversation, and please, please, please remember that you guys got to be able to take the high road, because at the end of all this, when it's all said and done, maybe you could still be friends. If you have kids, you still have to interact with each other, but at bare minimum, you got to live with yourself. And you don't want those old tapes of you doing bad stuff playing in your head, because it'll scar you. You're already going to have enough to go through right now. You got a lot to do. You got a lot of work to do. You have a lot of work to do, guys. And this is work that comes from the inside. You got a lot of time to put in for this. Man, it's going to take Some people it takes years and years and years and years and years, you know, but you got to put in the work. You got a lot to do. So stay busy, my friends. Love you guys.